Frankly speaking, I cannot compare anybody to anybody else. It's not fair. I speak a little bit of Hindi, but in those days I didn't know a word of Hindi. But I'll just go and sit and watch this movie because I was madly in love with the gentleman. Shyam Benegal, Satyajit Ray kind of films, okay? I started loving watching movies because of such stories and characters and direction. Still a state where people speak Tulu and they speak Kannada, which is their mother bhasha, and they go to the theatre to watch. So if somebody across the region is watching me in the theatre, it doesn't matter who I am. It's about Bollywood. Now everybody's talking South Indian cinema. Till one point in life, I remember South Indians were like guys you write off. Today we are something to reckon with. To tell you the truth, we have a joke in the house. A lot of people when they meet me for the first time, they'll be like, "You're his younger brother," and they'll take a second look at me. I'll tell them, seriously, believe it, I'm his younger brother.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೆ, ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಟು ಶೋ ದಿಸ್ ವೀಕ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಅತಿಥಿ ಅವರಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಗೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಅರವಿಂದ್ ಜಾನ್ ವಿಕ್ಟರ್. ಯಾರು ಇವರು? ಅರವಿಂದ್ ಜಾನ್ ವಿಕ್ಟರ್ ಅನ್ನೋರು. ಇವರೊಬ್ಬ ನಟ, ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ ಮತ್ತು ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಆಂಟ್ರಪ್ರನರ್ ಕೂಡ. ನಟ ಅಂತ ಅಂದಮೇಲೆ ತಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಹೌ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲರ್ ಈಸ್ ಹಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು. ಎಸ್, he is going to be one of the popular artists in the days to come. So let us welcome Mr. Arvind John Victor. So Arvind John Victor ಅವರು ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದಂಗೆ ಅವರು ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲರ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. Yes, he is going to be one of the popular artists, not because he is acted in few movies, but also because from the kind of legacy that he comes from. ಎಸ್, ಅವರು ತಂದೆಯವರು ವಿನೋದ್ ರಾಜ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ವೆಟ್ರನ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟರ್, ತಮಿಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಮಲಯಾಳಂ, ತೆಲುಗಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಅವರ ಸಹೋದರು, ಬ್ರದರ್, ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ವರ್ಸಟೈಲ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲರ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟರ್. ಯಾರಪ್ಪ ಅವರು ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲರ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟರ್ ನೋಡಿ? ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯು ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನ್, ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯು ಗೆಸ್ ಹೂ ಕುಡ್ ಬಿ ಹಿಸ್ ಬ್ರದರ್ ದಟ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್? ನೋಡಿ ಅವರ ಫೀಚರ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿ, ವೆದರ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು, ಕ್ಯಾಮ್ರಾ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತೋರಿಸಿ ಆ ಕಡೆ, ವೆದರ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಮೇಕ್ ಔಟ್ any resemblance you see. Yes, I am talking about one of my favorite versatile actor, Vikram, from Tamil industry. Chiyaan Vikram ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವರ ಸಹೋದರು ಇವತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಅರವಿಂದ್. And let us welcome him to our show, This Week Personality. Welcome to our show, Arvind.
Thank you. Welcome. Namaskar.
Tell us something about yourself. Where were you all these years? What were you doing? And what made you enter a film industry at this stage?
Okay, quite a lot of questions rolled into one. I have a career to talk about which is like about over 27 years. I worked in India. I was in the hospitality industry. I used to work for the Hyatt for Delhi, and I moved on to UAE, Dubai, namely in the 90s, late 90s I should say, and I've been there ever since, till about 3 years ago. So the question could be, why until 3 years ago? There's a small story behind that. My father, late Mr. Vinod Raj, who's also a veteran actor, he called me out of the blue one day, just about 6 days prior to Christmas, and he asked me two things. He said, "Arvind, I want to come and stay with you for some time." So that was a bolt out of the blue, because he's never asked me that. He was always comfortable being here because he had a lot of television shows and stuff, so he could never travel much. So that was a very pleasant surprise. Then I said, "What is the second thing?" So he said, "See, all of us have seen cinema from in front of the camera and everything. So you're the only one who's not shown any interest per se, obviously because of the work that I've been doing." So he said, "I want you to come on screen." So I said, "Why that wish now?" He said, "See, you accomplished so much. I started my career as an executive. I've grown amongst the ranks. I've been a general manager of operations. I've been in the construction industry, retail, hospitality, as I said. And the last positions I held was as director on board a couple of companies in UAE. I'm still a director on board. I'm a board member. Apart from which, I was also the global CEO for a very large healthcare firm." So having said all this, he felt it was time for me to come here and test the waters. And as he rightly said, which I didn't understand at that time, cinema has no age. it's ageless as cinema by itself. And for people who enter the industry, whether you're behind or in front of the camera, age is not even a number. It doesn't really matter. What you bring to the table is very, very important. So he felt I had some caliber in me where I could come and showcase my talent. Now, the catch to that was I had this fear always of facing the camera and stuff like that. So even if you go to my parents' house today, you'll not see many of my photos there because I'll never stand around for a selfie or anything. But then I think destiny had a different plan for me. So thanks to his wish, and he passed away 6 days later. So my first wish of his I couldn't accomplish, which is taking him home. So the second one was something which was within my reach. And I'm a self-made person. I've climbed my entire career. It's always been on my own strengths. So, of course, with God's grace. So I thought this also I left it to God. I prayed about it. And I thought my dad's wish, literally a dying wish. So why shouldn't I do this? So I parked everything. I came here. I invested 3 years of my time. And a lot of people who know me said, you're wasting your time. I said, no, I'm investing my time. And because 3 years is a long time. But I did get up close and personal, understanding cinema. I watched different languages, different films from different regions. I started understanding what direction is and what is photography, and finally what it is you need to do to emote as an actor. So it looked very easy when I was sitting on the other side of the fence. So I've had certain, before milestones, I would say I've had more struggles than anything else, because it took me again 3.5 to 4 years to get my first film to get released. And in that time, Corona hit. You had first wave, second wave. So too much of turbulence in my life. But then, water's under the bridge. I'm here today, and thanks to you, I'm having an interview. So yes.
Fascinating to know that. Yeah, you have acted only in few movies, but among them, which is your favorite movie and the character?
Okay. To give you a very truthful answer, I did a short film called Pesa Madandai. Okay, that film, to talk briefly about it, the director was a first-time director. The crew also, which came with him, they're all newcomers. So one day, a friend of mine who was also an artist in the film, Jiva Ravi, he's an established character artist. He is an old colleague of mine from the hospitality industry. So he just called me and said, brother, would you be interested in doing a small role? I said, what is this movie about? He said, it's about bringing up boys the right way. Normally, we all in our culture, we'll say, let's bring up our daughters or our sisters the right way. So that was intriguing for me. I said, okay, why not? So they called me in the nth minute. It was just a day's shoot. 28 minutes was a film. And I had about 8 minutes of my presence on camera. And the ending of the film was with me talking directly to the audience. We had 2 cameras on set. So I was telling you about camera fear and all that, stage fright and a whole lot of other things. For the first time in my life, thanks to that director's, I should say, caliber or expertise, he made me so comfortable. I didn't even realize that I was doing something new for the first time in my life. And long story short, that film went on to win 22 international and Indian awards and accolades. Recognition, I'm saying. So I was a small part of that first step for that director. And today I totally owe him that. Because every director or producer or film personality who saw that role that I played, they asked me, were you trained before this? Did you act before this? Because I was very cool in that. I played the role of a psychologist. And I find out that that girl in that film, it's about, they talk about her being molested and all that. But the truth is she's not. She has a medical condition or a psychological condition where she thinks she's been, but it's because of her fears. So the message we're giving to the audience is very loud. And I love the concept. I love the way the film was shot. Even I was surprised it was a short film. I was wishing for more. And that's what started my journey. So that was my first and most favorite film.
It's there in your blood. Probably it is there in the blood, I think.
I don't know about that, but I believed in the fact that my dad saw something in me. That was important for me.
Your first entry into film was little late, and even your re-entry now. Is it a coincidence or a deliberate, accidental, or your passion?
Okay, I would say all three. It was more of an incident rather than an accident, because I didn't walk into it by choice. My dad gave me no choice, and I thought I've never done anything for him as a grown adult. So it is only one small thing that he's asked. For some, it could be a mountain of a climb. But I thought, why not try? And I'm somebody who's never taken no for an answer. I thought, Arvind, if you can't do this, then what's the big deal in saying you're his son? So I said, let me give it a shot. So that was the first thing. The second thing is, yes, it became a choice for me. It became a passion for me. Why? Because after I did my first film, my second film, my third film, I realized, one day I sat and thought, he wanted me to come on screen, I've come on screen. He did not say, Arvind, I want you to be a big star. He said, I wanted to see you on film. So I realized that I've achieved what he wanted. Now what next? So either I drop it and go, or I pursue this. So what I felt was, this is a new industry for me, a totally new career. Why can't I chase that direction? So I started chasing it with a passion. And every single person that I met has been totally on my own strength, with my own connects, and small baby steps. I've done different languages, and I'm looking forward to doing more.
So what gives you the confidence of starting a production house and producing and directing movies apart from acting?
Right. That again, it happened first by accident, then by choice. Why? Because when I came in here, I had this literally a Damocles sword hanging on my head. So-and-so's son, so-and-so's brother, nephew, and all that. So what is this guy going to do new? So I had this innate, I wouldn't say fear, a kind of a mental disturbance that am I cut out for this? Because unless you get in there and like they say, from the frying pan into the fire, it's only when you get in there you realize how difficult it is to make a film, and more importantly, act in one, especially doing it for the first time. So after I came in and I started doing my projects and I think something struck me. As a businessman, I love business. I love to talk about economics and stuff. So I thought, end of the day, cinema being an art form on one side, on the other end, it's purely business. I thought, why not get into it and see how it works from my end of the spectrum? So that made so much sense to me. So what I thought is, let me launch a production company and see with my strengths, with my connects. I have a lot of friends across the globe who are all crazy about movies. Okay, from US, UK, even from places like Malaysia. They want to put in money. They have no clue what to do, who to go to, and how to go about it. So since I told you I studied how this whole process works, I've developed a lot of friends from the directorial circle, from the technicians, DOPs. I have a whole lot of people I'm connected to. I can see a lot of people who are celebrated artists, and at the same time, I see a lot of people who have so much talent, but they've not been recognized. So why I started this production company, a simple answer is, I wanted to help people like me to come out there and get a stepping stone to showcase their talent. That was the only reason why I started my company. And today, even before I brought out my full-fledged production, I've already helped a lot of people go and take on jobs as actors, as DOPs and assistants and so on and so forth. And I'm not doing this for making money on the side. I'm doing it purely because, see, God has put us all here on this planet for a purpose. So maybe He chose my dad to push me in this direction, and now I felt it's my turn to do something for somebody else. No expectations there. That's about it.
Very inspiring. What kind of movies do you have in mind to produce? Are you going to be in a genre like crime or romantic, suspense, or are you going to go purely by the script?
The last one is true. Purely by the script. I'm looking at genres where it is offbeat, and we can't say never before touched subjects, but I'd like to stay close to what's happening today, which is the truth. The realistic stories that happens around us. There are a lot of unsung heroes. There are a lot of people who don't get to hear their stories heard. And I've seen in the recent past, a lot of movies are coming out with very simple scripts, but the message is very hard-hitting because it's true. So I want to do, it's kind of some kind of indirect journalism, I should say. So it's very interesting for me, it's very intriguing for me. And I want to do later on, probably if I have the caliber, yes, I want to also get behind the camera and direct. So I have a couple of scripts with me, which I'm waiting to release. But I thought, let me first learn the ropes, because I don't want to come in here and talk big and not achieve. So I want to learn everything the hard way. And I'm waiting for an opportune moment when I know I'm ready. So when I'm ready, yes, I would like to do this.
You come from a family, film family, as your father too was an actor, your brother Vikram, and you have taken it forward. How do you see yourself carrying it forward, this legacy?
Well, that's the challenge. Why? Because my celebrated sibling, Vikram, we call him Kennedy at home, he has set such a high benchmark. It's going to be difficult for even seasoned actors to reach that kind of a plane. So I'm not here trying to compete with my family name or his name or anybody else's name in the family by choice. What I want to do is, I have something I bring to the table. I'm uniquely different as a person. I'm very intense as a person. I want that to relate to what I do in front of the camera. So how the audience receives me is what remains to be seen. So I'd like to see that when that transformation happens.
Tell us something about your latest Kannada film movie, September 13. When is it going to hit the screen, and the main star cast?
Right. September 13 came to me in a very different way. Why? Because first of all, I don't speak Kannada, unfortunately. But the producer, when he called me, he just said, Arvind, you just finished one short film and a Tamil full feature, right? Are you free? I said, yes. I said, what is this? He said, I have a film I'm doing, and I have a small role for you. Now, technically, for a guy like me who's looking for plum roles or choice roles, when somebody comes and tells you I have a small role, we'll normally by default reject it, correct? But for me, as I said, I don't get my choices easily, or opportunities easily. So, God-given call comes and somebody out of the blue says, I want you to do a film, and that is the producer himself called. I thought, why not? So I just said yes. I didn't ask him what it was. After that, he said, wait, I'll tell you what it is about, then you tell me whether you're serious about it. I said, what is it? He said, it's totally in Kannada. Okay. 2, it's about COVID-19. This movie, to give you a brief, it's about the unsung heroes, as I said earlier, the nurses in our communities who are putting their lives on the line. And he's somebody who promotes this Florence Nightingale movement. So every year he does this, as CM did it this year, celebrated the event. So the thing is, he said, you're playing a role of a Tamil actor, a celebrated actor, who comes to Bangalore, catches corona, and you die in the film. Now that was a shocker for me. Why? Because I die in the film. I let the cat out of the bag. But why it was a shocker for me is, I had just recovered from corona, which hit me last year. So I went into pneumonia, and my doctors, they'd literally written me off. So people in my family were told to come visit and see me and all that, because I was literally on my deathbed, I should say. But again, God kept me here for a purpose. He brought me back, and that was a little tough for me to digest, that I'm dying of corona in the film. I was like, it was like deja vu. But then I think the professional in me took over. I said, no worries, I'll do it. So I did the film.
So where do you see Vikram among the other actors, like the younger actors like Surya, Dhanush, Vijay, Sethupathi, etc.? Where do you see?
Okay, if I were to talk as a film goer, forgetting the fact for a moment he is my sibling,
Yes.
I'm an avid film fan. I watch all kinds of genres, all kinds of actors. I love watching Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam films, you name it. I'm yet to start watching other regions across the globe, but yes, I'm a huge film buff. To answer your question directly, I always feel the age has got nothing to do with the actors. Classic example is people like Mr. Rajinikanth, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan. If I were to go to the recent generation of actors, even Mr. Vijay Sethupathi, nobody's bothered, even Ajit sir. Nobody's bothered about how old they are or how they look. They're only bothered about what kind of role are they going to play and what they deliver. So he has set a benchmark for himself. Everybody knows what he's capable of delivering, and then he comes out with something new. Kamal Haasan sir, Olaga Nayagan, he's still delivering in spades. The recent film, and we can't even talk about his age, the recent film Vikram will put most of us to shame. The way he's so active, so energetic, and that movie was phenomenal. Why? Because he had a plethora of stars in the film.
And only Kamal Haasan can do that.
And every single person who came into the film, apart from Kamal Haasan sir, they all did their parts, and they did it phenomenally well. We had people from the Malayalam cinema, Fahad Fasil, Vijay Sethupathi sir, Surya came in the end. Now everybody like excited. When is the sequel coming? To theaters.
Yes.
So yeah.
Okay. Tamil cinema has always been blessed with a pair of top actors with different identity, like MGR and Shivaji, Rajini and Kamal Haasan. Today, in the younger generation, Vijay and Ajit Tale. who do you pair Vikram with? Because Vikram, neither he's young nor old, and he's actually growing young. He's not growing old. So how do you pair it?
To tell you the truth, we have a joke in the house. A lot of people when they meet me for the first time, they'll be like, "You're his younger brother," and they'll take a second look at me. I'll tell them, seriously, believe it, I'm his younger brother. Because he looks years younger to me. But that's the way he is. He's physically fit, he's always working out, and he goes out of his way to fit into character. Yeah, so to answer your question, see, you can't compare any actor with anybody else. Why? Because they've all deserved that space they've created for themselves. So if I were to go and watch a film of XYZ actor, I need to embrace the fact that it's his film and it's his role that is making me sit in the theatre for those 2.5 to 3 hours. So if I sit there and think at the back of my mind, is he comparable to X or Y? It will not make any sense because I choose to go and watch that film. Whether it is in the theatre or on OTT or on my mobile phone, it's my personal choice. So every actor has a platform to portray their talent, and they all have to keep doing newer and newer things to stay in the minds of people, and I'm one of those people. So frankly speaking, I cannot compare anybody to anybody else. It's not fair.
Wonderful answer. I think this is what I expected from you.
Thank you.
And yeah, so Vikram has played different. Sorry for deviating the subject because
no worries.
Vikram has
No
played
worries.
different roles to your mind. Which is the best film and the character that you can say?
My brother's best film. If I were to speak from his shoes, before I answer my answer, it would be a film which he struggled to arrive at, which was like about 12 years in his life of doing many films in different languages, Malayalam, Telugu, whatever. He's done dubbing and he's played second hero and so on and so forth. All big hit films. Having said that, Sedu was his eye-opener and he deserved that spotlight because the director, celebrated director Bala, and that gentleman goes to great lengths to give you raw footage of what an actor can achieve. And Vikram did it in spades.
That's when the Chiyaan...
Yes, because in the film he's called Chiyaan, and even Surya's dad, who's his dad, I think, in the film, or brother, I'm not too sure, I don't remember, he says, what is this stupid name you call, everybody calls it Chiyaan? So that stuck. And that's something which has carried him through and through. He's identifiable as Chiyaan Vikram. So yes, people all know him as Vikram, but he loves the name and it stuck with him.
Who's your main inspiration in films and next in life in general?
In films, I really can't pinpoint one particular person because, as I said earlier in some of the context, I love watching movies. And before I started acting or trying to act as an actor, I always thought X could be like Y and Y could be like Z. Like the question you asked me earlier, who do you compare him against? But then the point is, all of them have become who they are today, in the past or in the present, only by being themselves, by bringing something uniquely different to the table. Whether you talk about Fred Astaire, or you talk about Charlie Chaplin, or our Indian Marlon Brando, you talk about our Indian actors, I talked about Mr. Bachchan. When I was a kid, I was one of his biggest fans. Till today, I speak a little bit of Hindi, but in those days I didn't know a word of Hindi. But I'll just go and sit and watch his movie because I was madly in love with the gentleman. Okay, the same thing goes with Mr. Rajinikanth. And few people know him as an actor, a director's actor, because Balachandra sir brought him into a play. And if you see his older movies, the black and white films, he's lethal. Very talented actor. But over the years, he's become a superstar, so he's maintained that genre of acting. But what I'm trying to say is that in the hands of the right director, with the right script, as you asked earlier, any actor can perform. It's a combination of sorts. Because I've seen in corporate life, we all talk about teamwork. Actual teamwork I'm seeing in play in cinema. Because every single person, right from the director to the producer to the actor to the camera DOP to the light boy, if one thing is out of sync, your scene doesn't happen. And getting that to happen repeatedly in the best way possible is a lot of work and it's a challenge in itself. So I should celebrate the directors who are getting to do this. Seriously. Sorry, can you repeat that?
Where do you see the Tamil industry
heading towards?
Yes, heading towards.
See, again, I watch a lot of other regional films, okay? I remember when I was a youngster, we used to get on television on Saturdays, they used to play with subtitles in English, national cinema, Shyam Benegal, Satyajit Ray kind of films, okay? I started loving watching movies because of such stories and characters and direction. So today, when you look at Tamil cinema, to give a direct answer, we have over the years been entertaining people in all directions. You name the genre, we've done it. But then the quality of filmmaking has now started to go on with another level. Why? Because the audience has also now become very savvy. People are very intelligent. They don't just take whatever you throw at them. So today, as I said earlier, for me to watch a movie, I need to see who's the director, okay, who's written the script, are they known people? And then sometimes they really surprise you. If you take Malayalam cinema, right from the technicians to the director to the producer to the artists, they're all new. And the movies are something you'll rant and rave about. So the quality of filmmaking has started going up in leaps and bounds. Now everybody is fighting for that top spot. Gone is a day when we said Tamil cinema was number one, or Malayalam cinema was on top, or Bollywood and all that. Now everybody's competing. I remember when I came in to do September 13, I wanted to add that as well. My friends asked me, why Kannada film you're going to do? I said, what's wrong with Kannada cinema? Then they said, no, it's a very small industry and it's yet to make a mark. I said, it doesn't matter. It is still cinema. There is still a state where, I don't know about the rest of the world, but there's still a state where people speak Tulu and they speak Kannada, which is a mother bhasha, and they go to the theatre to watch. So if somebody across the region is watching me in the theatre, it doesn't matter who I am. And that was the time when OTT was also from a nascent stage, it was coming into form. Thanks to COVID, unfortunately or fortunately, it's taken a space which you can't beat it from. So what has happened is Kannada filmmaking has again jumped to one platform where now everybody across the globe is saying, same thing with Telugu cinema. Suddenly we are all, yes, so now it is South Indian cinema as against the rest of the world. It's against the rest of the world. Forget about Bollywood. Now everybody is talking South Indian cinema. Till one point in life, I remember South Indians were like, guys, you write off. Today we are something to reckon with.
Think twice now.
Now we have to reckon with. So now it is a battle between Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam and Telugu. And it's great fun because for actors like us, it's opportunity.
Yeah, you just mentioned about OTT. I have a question on that.
Sure.
According to you, is the coming of OTT platforms like Amazon, Netflix, Hotstar, etc. Is it a blessing or a curse to the film industry?
Okay. A film industry, cinema is always a blessing for all of us film goers. Why? Because it is a medium where we are all transformed into another world for that 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever it is. We forget our worries. Or if we need some spice in our life, we are transformed to that stage where it's an edge of the seat kind of a thriller. You understand? So when OTT came in, as I said in another context, it was in a nascent stage. Why? Because people were still trying to come to terms with going to the theatre as against watching it on mobile or on television at home. But today, thanks to the advent of technology, you have something called home theatre systems. Earlier, it was only meant for the rich and the super rich. Today, you go to any household, even if it's a low middle class, he has a 40 or 43-inch television, and trust me, he'll have a surround theatre there. Whatever, whether branded or not. So people are now starting to enjoy movies the way it should be. So OTT is a blessing. Why? Because the filmmakers are taking a lot of trouble to make cinema. So if the theatres are failing to draw in crowds, where will they play the movies? You can't blame Corona for it or any other disease or XYZ reason and then, as you say, force majeure event and say, theatre didn't happen, so my film flopped. That's very sad because the producer is putting in so much of his money. It's a business. The director is putting in his entire lifeblood into it along with his team for them to showcase their talent. The actors are putting in their bit. So ultimately, there's a whole team suffering the consequences. So OTT is actually a blessing. Why? Because the movie is made for us to see. How you see it doesn't matter. And for me, I'm a huge theatre buff. I'd still want to go to the theatre. To give an example, there's a Karthi film I saw with Surya Sir's banner. I couldn't see it in Chennai when I was there last week. But I thought, I'm in Bangalore, it's playing here. Today I was asking somebody, they said it's 12 days old, but it's still playing in some theatres. They said it's very far. I said, no problem, I'll go there. Because for me, I want to see my favorite heroes on screen, in a theatre, seeing other people responding, and that's great fun. So you can't compare OTT to theatre. They're two different things. But you want to see a film, you have that choice, you have this choice. How you want to take the choice is up to the end user.
Well justified. If you are given a choice to act, direct, produce, with your own brother Vikram, which one would you prefer?
That's the challenge. Act.
Acting?
Yes.
Finally, your message to the aspiring budding artists. Because acting, getting onto the screen, a big screen, is not that. People have spent years and years going traveling.
Struggles, yes.
Struggles and all those things. But for you, it's a blessing. And again, your passion, again, your father, everything comes.
Trust me, it's a struggle for me as well. It's not that easy as it looks. I'm saying it very lightly. Yes, I like the question. Why? Because even for me, it was a challenge. Because my dad did say this. He says, I know you will not use your brother's name and try to come up in life. Neither will you go around chasing people using his banner. And you're self-made. And you have this, they say in Malayalam, Vashi.
Yes.
You're very obstinate. You'll want to do it your way or the highway. I said, that's fine. Because if I don't fight for it, if I don't struggle for it, there's no sense of achievement. More than answering a question about how big an actor I'm going to become, if I can convince myself that I can act in the first place, that itself is a big milestone for me. Now, how well I'm acting is only going to show in the number of films I'm doing, the kind of roles I'm taking on, and I'm not fussy about the roles that I want to take on. As I said, even September 13 is a very brief role. But it doesn't matter to me. Why? Because, again, I wanted to say this. I have my first break in Kannada. So I didn't care how small that break was. It's still a break. I'm in front of the Kannada audience, or the Kannadiga audience.
Yes.
And that's good enough for me. So it is a struggle, yes. Nobody gets it easy. A lot of people say it's all about luck. I don't believe in that. Every man makes his own luck. Perseverance counts. You need to know where to look. You need to be at the right place at the right time. That is the luck they're talking about. Because directors or producers don't have the time or patience to go around seeking talent. Why? Because there are millions of people out there who all want to become actors. They all want to become photographers and so on and so forth. So if they want to be in the right place at the right time, they should take the effort to do it. Now, I see a lot of people who even approach me and say, sir, I want to act in the next film. I feel nice when they say that, because that still means that they respect you for who you are. But the point is, I know the challenge. So none of us get it easy. We have to work for it. That is the only mantra I have.
I see one common thread in you, and as far as I know, I've seen Vikram, and I've seen your father as a father role. I've seen him as a father, typical father. I love watching this.
Oh yeah, he was talking about success. Success for me is hard won. It doesn't come easily for anybody, whoever they are. Today we are talking about the film industry and celebrated names. They've all struggled to get to where they are. So I remember when, as an entrepreneur, when I talk to people, and I do a lot of training for youngsters. I've trained over 56,000 people, youngsters in jobs as well as in engineering colleges, management institutes. When they talk to me about success and they want to talk to somebody big, like Ratan Tata Sir and XYZ, I tell them, when you meet such people, don't ask them about how they are a success story. Ask about their failures. Because I remember how many times I failed in life to get to where I'm sitting today. If I'm having the respect of a platform like yours, where you're giving me your time for me to speak to the public, it is not easy to come by. You need to get there. Now for me, I'm still standing at the tip of the iceberg, or the lowest rung of that big ladder I have to climb. So that's why, to answer your second question, humility is a must for all of us. Why? Because I know nobody's perfect. But I always talk about this. There's something called benchmarking. In search of excellence. That's how athletes perform. Right? If you look at the case of Usain Bolt, everybody said he was unbeatable. And there's a history of another athlete, I forget his name, who was on the sidelines, who used to be second to him or whatever it is. The day that Usain Bolt failed, he came in the forefront, and from then on, he's been performing. So that's the way they call it, the rat race. That's the way the world works. So either you excel, you strive for excellence, and you chase that dream, or somebody else overtake you. That's the way it is. Everybody gets an opportunity to be in the limelight. So for me, I'm trying to create my own limelight, however small or big. But at the end of the day, economically, I should make sense to the producer and team. And entertainment-wise, I should make sense to the larger audience. So that's a huge blessing when we can have both together.
That was wonderful having you, Arvind. I think you are not only a good orator, but I think you are a good narrator as well.
Thank you.
So you deserve not only to be an actor, producer, but also as a good director.
Thank you.
God bless all your initiatives.
Thank you.
Yes, friends, Netre. So that was wonderful having an interview with Arvind. Such a orator, and it was such a great human being. So we have Jessy with us. Jessy is also a co-actor in the Kannada movie September 13. So she is also an associate assistant director, worked as an associate director in this movie. Jessy, can you please share your experience working with Arvind and the entire crew?
Hello everybody, I'm Jessy, and as Kishore said, yes, I've been associated with the movie September 13th. Now there's a long story to September 13th as such. The movie per se is very close to each and every one of our hearts, because we've seen the way we put the movie together, and it's not just the person who's written the story, but a long way from where it came as a script, how it turned out into a movie, the difficulties we went through, and finally everybody coming and teaming up as one single family, and which has led to the release of the movie in the upcoming month of September. So that's brief about September 13th. And
what role you play in the movie, and how was your experience working with Arvind?
I actually came onto the movie as a character artist, and I play the role of a BBMP health commissioner in the movie, and it portrays about the COVID scenario, the steps that the states were taking at that point in time. So yes, it was a brief role, and but I got to do a lot of what an actual health commissioner would do in that movie, talking to the commissioner himself, and then putting things into place and showcasing to the people as to what exactly was happening in the COVID scenario between states, and how people died around that point in time, bodies were lying around, and how they had to be cleared, and the position of the health commissioner and the entire team as to how to get these bodies moved, and what it took them, and what happened behind the scenes. That was what is being portrayed from my perspective, or my role in the movie, as to how I get people to move stuff. So the rest is for you all to see and decide. So that was my stint as a character artist, and post that I was asked to join on the sets as an assistant director, wherein my main job was to train the senior artists and also the other artists, character artists who came onto the sets with their dialogues. And that gave me a great exposure, because I met a lot of stalwarts in the industry, Vinaya Prasad, Mr. Jay Jagdish, Mr. Spadigam George from Malayalam, UT Kadir, who is the who was the health minister and now sitting MLA. So he plays a role of a chief minister in this. So the dialogues which were told to him, and my stint with Arvind, I had to train him on the roles of a Tamil actor speaking in Kannada. My stint with Arvind on the sets was, Arvind does not know Kannada, and though he came in as a Tamil actor coming into Karnataka, he had to have his dialogue said in Kannada, and it was difficult for him, and midway he was like, I'm not going to do it. I just can't do it, because I know it will not happen. That was when I told him, I said, when people from Kerala like Spadigam George, a thorough Malayali, he came and I trained him on the dialogues, and he said it so beautifully. I said, you're closer to Karnataka. So that way I had faith. I knew that he could do it, and the caliber of Arvind is at a different level. So I said, no, you got to deliver your dialogues in Kannada, and that's where I started training him on that, and he did fantastically well. So yeah, it's an added feather on my cap.
So thank you, Jessy and Arvind, for sparing your precious time. Snehitere, September 13th movie is going to be released due. When is it going to be?
It will be mostly towards the end of September.
Okay.
So ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಮೂವಿ ನೋಡಬೇಕು, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ನಾವು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ.
Very good.
ಸೊ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದು ನೋಡಬೇಕು.
Yes, we are looking forward, and I wish both Jessy and Arvind all the very best for your future endeavors. God
Thank
bless
you.
all your good initiatives.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Snehitere, please do subscribe, like and share This Week India.